I want to go to our panel right now. We have an all-star legal panel. We have Misty Marris, trial attorney and legal analyst, a former homicide prosecutor, Matt Murphy, as well as Jesse Weber, News Nation's legal contributor and host of the Law and Crime Network. Jesse, I'll start with you. You were on this set just a couple nights ago. Yep. Word is he is going to support resentencing the brothers. What would that mean?
So first of all, I think it should be noted that he would be signing on that and not the habeas petition, which was another way they were trying to get the brothers' convictions. Wouldn't be surprising. It's easier to make the argument that they should be their sentence recalled and their sentence resentenced to manslaughter. They would petition the court, and I believe there's a hearing in November. And the court is the ultimate judge to determine whether or not they sign off on this. And the judge could say, disagree. I think that these brothers, this murder conviction should stay. Or, you know what, I think the murder conviction should be recalled, resentenced to manslaughter, time served, they're out of prison. Or the judge could say, you know what, I think they should be sentenced to 50 years to life. And they'll have to serve another 15 years in prison.
Before they're eligible.
Right. So there's a lot of different moving variables, but it's also, what time is it right now? It's in November. I mean, this is right before the election.
Yeah.
And if George Gascon makes a decision and this hearing gets delayed and Nathan Hochman should win, then it complicates matters of whether he signs on it.
Okay, because we have to remember this is all being played out in an election season. Matt, you practice in Southern California. You know George Gascon well. He's in a tough re-election battle. Polls show him losing right now. There have been a lot of allegations that this whole news conference we're about to see right now is a political stunt.
Well, that is one of the big criticisms, and it's coming notably from inside his own office. So the prosecutors that I've spoken to in the Los Angeles DA's office believes very strongly this is a cynical effort to garner votes on the eve of an election, and they have some backing there because he's had these allegations, and this letter's been known for well over a year. So this has basically been sitting on his desk for a while, and we are on the eve of a very tough re-election campaign for him.
He's also under enormous public pressure, Misty. He's getting apparently inundated by messages. There's a huge movement on social media, mostly from millennials, who weren't even alive when these murders happened and who've watched this on Netflix, the documentary and the movie series, or just read into it because of people like Rosie O'Donnell and Kim Kardashian who've taken up their cause. He's under a lot of pressure.
Absolutely, a lot of public pressure on him. And to your point, all of the renewed interest from the Netflix series, the documentaries, the celebrity backing of the Menendez brothers, and certainly that's going into his challenger's argument that much of this is political posturing. That being said, Elizabeth, it's important to note that he established a resentencing task force. So this is one case of many others that this particular district attorney was making these types of recommendations. 28 of the 300 were also life without parole sentences. So it's part of a bigger initiative.
So it's not the only case that he's done for this resentencing type thing.
Correct.
So why do you think he didn't go with the habeas, what is it called, the habeas petition, which would have been saying, oh my gosh, we've discovered something new about this whole crime and we don't think they're guilty after all. He's not saying that.
Right. The habeas corpus petition is actually one of the highest standard. It is really difficult to get there. And the reason is it has to be new evidence that would have likely resulted in an acquittal. And so because that standard is so high, it is a real long shot for any criminal defendant. And in fact, it is the last effort after all of the other appellate arguments have been made and have been denied. So this, under the California law, was actually a path of least resistance when it comes to resentencing.
Now, Jesse, this letter, let's explain to our viewers, it was written from Eric to his cousin Andy saying, Andy, it's still happening, I live in fear, that sort of thing. So it seems to establish that, in fact, the sexual abuse was happening before the murders happened. Andy testified, at least in the first trial, didn't he?
The second trial.
And the second trial. So Andy testified in both trials. Why is the letter such a big deal if Andy himself was on the stand?
So Andy was cross-examined pretty severely by prosecutors about his credibility. If this letter came in and it would say, I can prove to you right now what I'm saying is true, Eric wrote me this letter 8 months before the killings. That would have backed up his credibility. Theoretically, the jury would have given him more credence, and maybe they would have said there was abuse going on. But I have to tell you, even if they accepted abuse was going on, that doesn't necessarily mean they would have found Eric and Lyle not guilty of murder. Because remember, in that second trial, self-defense wasn't an avenue.
All right, let's listen in because George Gascon is now just taking the podium to announce what his decision is.